iPhone 13 is EMI. It's only myth, right? So I'll directly start with the editorial page, as all of you know. So this is called as lobbying, just in case. Recently we have seen Taiwan, right? Yes, Taiwan was in the news. Why? Why today Hindu paper is having an ad to show that everything is fine in Taiwan, China and Taiwan. Okay. There are two interesting articles. The others can be managed. Okay. Who is known as father of microfinance?
Bangladesh.
Who is known as father of microfinance? Not there in the article.
Sir,
Think. Don't need to tell. Think. Have you heard about him? Yes. If you have started reminiscing, probably you must have noticed the name Muhammad Yunus. Muhammad Yunus. Okay. So what is microfinance? The simple story of microfinance is micro. The hero is micro. I'm audible, right? Let's imagine a roadside vendor, a idli wala or someone, right? He doesn't have a huge amount of capital. He wants to start a business or he wants to expand a business. As he's a informal labor who does not have any collateral, who do not have any kind of assets. So if he goes to a bank or a financial official legal money lending sources, they won't give him money. So one day Professor Muhammad Yunus noticed this. He started the microfinance with 30 rupees, the small amount of 30 rupees. Giving 30 rupees loan to someone to start a anything. For example, she wants to give the baskets. Okay, jute baskets can be created. To purchase jute, she does not have money. So that 30 rupees is more than enough for her to create a basket in one day and sell it in the evening. She will make 45 rupees of money and 30 rupees is given back to the person who's giving the loan. So that is a simple and original idea behind microfinance. It started in Bangladesh and it became a revolution. Recently, you must have seen a bank called as Bandhan Bank. Bandhan Bank, dark blue color code. Sometimes you might have seen Bandhan Bank. So Bandhan Bank started as a microfinance institution. So you need to know the background so that we can appreciate this article in a better fashion. So the entire original idea, it is supposed to be very small amount, and it's a very revolutionary idea, right? Think about it. During COVID time, everybody have to sell their goods through mic. You must have seen all the vendors, street vendors will also have mic. Mic costs 800 rupees and the battery costs 300 more rupees. Even 1100 rupees is an investment for that particular fruit vendor. So if somebody is giving you a 1000 rupee loan, that is a life-saving thing for you during COVID pandemic. So microfinance. And normally microfinance fall under regulated area. Scheduled commercial banks, non-commercial finance banks, NBFCs, all these things are regulated. Whereas microfinance is
unregulated.
Not regulated, right? Unregulated. So noticing this is very close to money lending. Microfinance and money lending are very close to each other. So Andhra Pradesh become a textbook case study. People adapted microfinance like anything. See, most of the times banks are in the urban areas or in the towns. If someone is coming to village to give you money, that is something new. So microfinance and money lending are more or less similar in mind of the money lender. Okay, he went to the villages and he started giving more loans. Now the problem is, now that they are giving more loans, interest rates become very high, 25%, 30%. If you go to the bank, it's maximum 10 to 12%. But in microfinance, interest rates went almost up to 50% in Andhra Pradesh. If I'm giving 100 rupees, I'm expecting 150 rupees by evening. Right, micro. And it became a mafia of its own, which destroyed the entire concept of microfinancing in Andhra Pradesh. Okay, that is when RBI stepped in and regulated this microfinance institutions. So that is a small thing you need to notice. A very good intention introduced in India helped the people in the starting, then it became a mafia of its own. So that is a problem with microfinance institutions. Now, I hope if you have read this article, you can start connecting the dots very easily now. What the author is trying to tell you is RBI is planning to bring in some new regulations which will remove the restrictions on the people who are going to lend to the microfinance. What she is arguing is already with the existing regulations, microfinance is an exploitation. If you remove even that safety valve, it will lead to a total collapse of the microfinance systems. Okay. 3-layer scheduled commercial banks, NBFCs, NBFC and microfinance. Okay. So this is how that money will trickle down into the microfinance thing. So all these people are helping whom? Rural population. So scheduled commercial bank is not in every village. It is in the nearest town or the nearest district headquarters. Whereas NBFCs are reaching the rural areas, but microfinance are reaching every village. Right? Actually, the connectivity of rural population is more with microfinance. So if money is not flowing into rural area, economic revival won't happen. Yes or no? 80% of Indian population lives in rural areas. So they need money. If they don't get proper money, okay, the rural economy will collapse. Or else if they are getting money at a higher interest rate, that is exploitation, that will also collapse the entire purpose of giving money to the rural people. It's a very simple and straightforward argument. Clear? Yes. Okay. So what are the other terms or what should be done, or what are the lessons to be learned? These two are some terms we can learn. First is priority sector lending rates. If microfinance are giving loans to self-help groups, if microfinance institutions or NBFCs are giving loans to self-help groups, that can also be considered an prior lending rates. I hope all of you know what lending rate. Have you heard about it? No, Narayan. Let's say if bank is giving 100 rupees loans, okay, if 99 rupee loan is given to Ambani or me, okay, we are not on the same bracket by the way, if Ambani or me, then people won't have access to loan. So RBI introduced something called as priority sector lending rates. That means out of every 100 rupees loan you give, 40 rupees should be compulsory given to these sectors like renewable energy, microfinance, self-help groups, micro, small and medium enterprises. So there is a list. I will provide the list. Don't worry. Okay. So that is simple concept of priority sector lending rates. These sectors are priority. They should have money, access to money all the time. So in the same way, if an independent person is going and asking, I want to make papad. Okay, will you give loan to me? The bank will say, no, thank you. But if a group of women form together and call it as a self-help group and register as a MSME under various schemes, then the bank will be more than happy to give the loans. So that can also be considered as priority sector lending rates. Clear? Next, SHGBLP. What is SHGBLP? Self-help groups bank linkage program. Self-help group bank linkage program. So same concept. If I ask independent loans, nobody will give me independent loan. But if you create a self-help group, if 4 or 5 people come together and create a group, that group will have access to what? Bank loans. So who is mandating it? The government of India is mandating to give more loans to self-help groups. All these things will promote microfinance or the rural population. So these are the points that we are discussing, right? So the summary is normal banks or small commercial banks charge much less interest rate in comparison to the microfinance. So that is a problem. So now I keep saying, right, identifying problem is easy. Solving the problem is a bit difficult. So what can be the solutions to solve these problems? Retaining the interest cap already as the even if you flat interest cap, you are charging 22 to 26%. In comparison, banks are charging only 9 to 12%.
It's fixing brackets, interest brackets.
Mhm.
Till 10,000, the interest caps can be regulated.
Then companies won't be incentivized to give loan. Like now, I'm in the microfinance business for exploiting people or to make profits out of it. Normally NBFCs are not supposed to accept deposits, right? But for microfinance, they may make an exemption. Then who will regulate them? The regulation become a problem, right? You must have seen July movie in the starting. Yes, I will amass 1,000 crores. I become very popular. Overnight, I'm a flight risk. 1,000 crores is lost. Then people will lose the trust in the institution itself.
So we have seen the aggregators.
Aggregators. Okay.
So, however, the foundation is jammed. So, because we have the data, we see that there is a income being generated through this jam trinity. We know the data. So with that aggregator, we can know we can know how much credit is he is worthful for, and that can be granted so that even these people's NBFCs cannot be.
There are two ways to understand this. First of all, if I'm entering into the microfinance industry as a taker, as a loan taker, okay, I assume that I have zero collateral, I have zero credit history. Let's say I don't have any credit history. Then the history probably once maintained, whatever you are saying is more reasonable. But what I'm asking is, who is going to give loan to the rural person and still maintain decent profits, and how do we do that? The problem is not about maintaining the data sheet. The problem is it's very easy. Link every bank account with Aadhaar. By the way, how many of you know what is JAM Trinity? Jan Dhan Aadhaar Mobile. JAM. Jan Dhan Aadhaar Mobile together is known as JAM Trinity. Jan Dhan means Jan Dhan accounts, Jan Dhan bank account. Aadhaar card for identity proof. Mobile is for updates. For example, JAM Trinity, Jan Dhan accounts. So when government deposits direct benefit transfers, you will get a SMS, right? And almost all Aadhaar cards are linked to bank accounts, and all mobiles are linked to Aadhaar accounts. So exactly, you know whose account is being deposited and whether that person is linking the phone number to that particular account, yes or no. Clear? So JAM Trinity. JAM Trinity does one simple thing known as financial inclusion.
Yes.
Okay. It opens a zero balance account for every rural person and woman. So more women are brought under financial inclusion. Why will I go to a money lender? Because I don't have a credit history. I don't have because I don't have any documents. Jan Dhan account gives me that privilege to have access, right? So what probably should happen in the long run, in the real long run, is develop infrastructure of internet in the rural areas. Point number one. Introduce neobanks, NEO. Neobanks with social development as a consideration. What are neobanks? Neobanks means, let's say the back end is one bank. Back end is SBI. The front end is some technological company. Back end is SBI. That means if you deposit 1 rupee in that app, that 1 rupee belongs actually to SBI. but user interface of SBI is very confusing. So for rural people, you can create a very simplified interface where SBI will give you 30 rupees loan. Even the most illiterate person should be able to access. See, in which sense? Microfinance?
Yes.
Okay, so I will start a microfinance company and I will use the same old tactics. For example, if you took a loan, I will threaten you. I will add multiple layers of interest rates, which may or may not be legitimate. Okay, as a illiterate person, you don't know. So I'm exploiting you more, right? You know how money lenders work, right? I will give you a loan, then they will call you, they your home, they will. So I'm no, I'm eliminating the money lenders in the whole in the whole scenario. I'm bringing in technology. See, the money lender concept is only as good as the exploitation. There are very few ethical money lenders. I haven't heard of anyone, right? So the entire concept of money lending is huge amount of profits. Risk is high, reward is high, right? But if I bring in this tech and the float of easy, clear? Yes. And we are not talking about 30 rupees, right? When we talk about self-help groups, we are minimum talking about 10,000 rupees and so on and so forth. It's a pretty decent amount of money.
Sir, there are all, I mean, there are lenders, informal money lenders. Of course, they charge high interest rates. So this is already more or less prevalent since very long time. We bring them, I mean, those financial lenders into the system.
That is what, right? If they are adapting, that is totally happy. And second thing is the interest rates, economies of scale. Let's imagine a startup. A startup by now. Okay. This loan, let's say 1,000 people. Yes. Is coming into the scenario. You understand? He lend it, but
People, two types of income. We have GI thing where we can, and ODOPs. So conditions.
need to have some backing. Right?
Yes, sir. That's what I'm saying. One legal backing should be brought where government or someone's need to bring money. They people also want to lend money. These people want to take the loan. So there can be a local initiative where there is a.
So what is the logical outcome? The logical outcome is increase of number of cases in Supreme Court. You think about it. Aren't you? See, both are equally cunning, right? People are not that innocent. See, when people become, when these money lenders become exploitative, it's not like they, they wanted to become exploitative. By nature, they are ruled by people. When they need money, people are like, I will do anything for you. Who are you? Yes or no? So both sides are equally true. Money lenders are not attributes, they are outcomes, right? Money lenders' rude attitude is because of the outcome. People have misused money lenders very nicely. That is why money lenders become exploitative and very ruthless. So again, you can understand the context, right? So RBI regulation is a very risky thing. And if you really want to empower the rural population, the only thing in the long run is technology. There is no other way to bring any changes, because manpower won't work. Why will I go to every village for 10% interest rate? It is a huge administrative cost for State Bank of India or any bank. The simplest technology will solve the solution. We have to upgrade the infrastructure at the rural areas. Think about it from administrative cost point of view. For a 10 rupees loan, you have to spend 2 rupees on petrol. Is it worth it? Economies of scale. Yes. Clear? I hope if any technical value addition is needed, I will provide you. If you don't understand anything, for example, non-banking finance companies and all those things, I will provide. But in economy classes, you are supposed to learn what is NBFC, what is small finance bank, what is NBFC, MFI. Yeah. Right. So that is a core summary that microfinance is a very good initiative. It went totally wrong. We have to bring it back into the mainstream.
Sir, this loan breakup, I did not understand, sir. She was talking about some calculation.
I will send you a screenshot. Okay. She literally picked it up from RBS website. So we can see the same. We will also do the same. It's in tabular format. It's very easy. Now, remember, coming to, I think I have discussed all the points. Literally every point has been discussed. So we can write in Hindu articles on our own, right? No? Haven't I told you about nuclear proliferation?
Yes, sir.
That is the reason why India is very calculated in joining the AUKUS. Okay, so that point is covered. Then what else is covered? Net security provider and what Admiral Lamba has mentioned. He clearly mentioned, right? In Naval Admiral has mentioned. This aspect has been discussed. Everybody is thinking about the maritime boundary, but India is the only country with land boundary with China. So if we do any adventures, our headache will increase. Same point. Yeah. So whatever India is doing is accurate in this present scenario, right? I hope you are able to recollect all the points while reading this article. And this aspect also has been discussed. When push comes to shove, I think the same language also has been used. When push comes to shove, yes, nobody will be there to help us. We cannot believe all the agreements will be actually helping someone. So what do we have to do? Atmanirbhar Bharat. While all these countries are providing a safe zone for India, we should make money. When we should grow rich as a economy, and Atmanirbhar Bharat should be achieved. Only then we are safe, or else we are not safe. That was my analysis. Yes. So I think more or less we can agree on the same thing. Yes. Yes or no? I hope you have read the article. You are just not agreeing with me. You don't become S-man.
No, not yes, man, sir. If I see quad or AUKUS, I am just avoiding it.
You should read them. See, the reason you should read them is, no matter how much you read, at least one new point will be there, or it will act as a refresher to your existing knowledge. Because when we read Dinakar Pai article or Sham Sharan's article, it makes, I know this. Okay, but if I gave you pen and paper, okay, to express the same thing in same flow takes a lot of skill, and that skill has to be developed only by reading. Knowing the topic is one thing, knowing the skill to articulate is one more thing. The biggest problem with student is articulation, and you have word limit. Unlike Hindu, you don't write 1500 words, right? You write 150 words. So the same points have to be told by you in 150 words. So how do you distill that? By reading, rereading, and repeating the same keywords again and again. AUKUS, military doctrine, quad, trade doctrine. Yes, done. And that does not come to you naturally. You have to repeat it multiple times to articulate the same points. So please don't skip articles. That's a small thing many people suggest. Even economic articles also, people say, don't read economy articles. What is there? Every time you read something, it's an alternative, it's an option to refresh your data. Clear? We have got both of these things. Yes. Anything, any questions from this article? Anybody didn't understand anything?
So in the answer writing, how do I put the phrase like push comes? I mean, India is
external complications. You use the same thing, but external pressure, internal pressure, made India act. The simple words, right? External pressure, internal pressure. Taiwan issue, because of external pressure, China is trying to integrate Taiwan more quickly.
one point here, maybe you told and I missed it. So Scorpion submarine's data leak was.
Okay, this one, right?
Yes.
So, by the way, you do know what is proliferation, right? Proliferation means leak of
Increases.
data, spread of the nuclear thing. Pakistan AK Khan supermarket, I think I have told you.
He
Yes,
sent
sir.
it to
We
everyone. He gave it.
Open market.
Open market, right? Pakistan got nuclear technology and he started distributing it, assuming it's a free trade. Yes or no? So that is proliferation. Whereas this data is submarine capabilities or submarine technology is supposed to be a secret information. So, at least for common public. If India knows something, China definitely knows, or Russia knows, because they are all friends, right? Internal agreements will be there. But at least in theory, public should feel that, you know, if India is creating a submarine, what are the capabilities of that submarine are a secret. If the spec sheet of the submarine is leaked by some other country, let's say India and Australia are buying the same kind of submarines. Okay, so to discourage Australia from buying the submarine, the specs of the Australian submarine are released. Indirectly, Indian submarine data also comes into the picture. So that is the loss to India. So fight among those two countries led to loss in India, at least the common public perception. Okay, if India is creating a new aircraft, what are its capabilities? It should be a secret. Up to a point, I will tell you it's 6 Mach or 7 Mach. I will tell you the speed. I won't tell you what are its maneuverable capacities or how accurate it is and all those things, because the enemy will assume, oh, it's very dangerous and he won't attack. But if the spec sheet is released like Google phone, weight, grams, and all those things, then the enemy will calculate and act as accordingly. That's the only point. I haven't discussed it.
The deal which Australia had with France before it shifted to US, France released
We
it.
released it. Okay. So that led to now what is the point of India having that? Okay.
Yes.
Something in those lines. Clear? Yes. Any more questions? I assume you have read it. No? Narayan? You have read it or no? No, you haven't. Do read it just for fun. Very quickly, 5 minutes. This article again, just remember your introduction into microfinance world. What is microfinance? Who is Professor Muhammad Yunus? And how does microfinance still help the rural population? So you can see documentaries also. There is a TED talk where, for example, every family. One goat is given to every family. For us, you know, what is goat? Probably they will cook and eat it. No, not like that. It's not for eating purposes. It is for selling the goat milk. And the documentary very nicely calculates how goat milk helped a family to overcome the poverty. Yes, they will sell the goat milk for first few days by walking some kilometers. Then they will make enough money to buy a second-hand cycle. Then using the second-hand cycle, they will sell more milk and they will reconstruct the house. And that is how they overcome the poverty through one goat. So even buying a goat was a very, very difficult thing for that family. And it was one of the poorest African nations. So what is, you know, very obvious for us, for the civilized or middle class families, is still a life-changing thing for many things. For example, you must be having a cycle or a scooter lying down in your home, right? Like ideally without any use. But for an African family or for a poor farmer family, it's a life-changing. It will save some hours together. So in the same way, giving a goat to that particular family changes the entire thing. Yes, if I find it, I will share the same documentary with you. You can watch it. You will understand on your own. So microfinance is also like the same thing. Yes, sometimes you might be traveling in the highway or on the roadside. You must be seeing people with the good pottery and all those things sitting on the roadside. Yes, all those people don't have shop or a initial capital. But if they have initial capital and some marketing to go with it, I think more than the only thing more than give initial capital. That is the poor people can be brought out of poverty, but there should be some ethical considerations. Clear? Next. This is a very Supreme Court's intervention into policy area. So we can celebrate it or we can cry. Both can be done simultaneously. Why? Giving compensation is a policy decision. Giving compensation is a purely policy decision. According to National Disaster Management Act, to give money is a policy decision. But if Supreme Court is telling what the government should do and how it should not do, or whom to give, how to give, then Supreme Court is clearly entering into the policy area. This is violation of separation of powers. Burden of liberal is so death certificate mentions that
It is a
it is a COVID death. We have discussed at that point, right? Like comorbidities might be one reason why people die, but Supreme Court is saying even for such cases, give 50,000 rupees. Okay, but that is purely a decision of the executive. Okay, so should we be happy that we have a proactive judiciary or judicial activism, or should we be crying that separation of powers is being destroyed? You understand, right? Yes.
Very context to context.
See, ethical relate does not work. Our constitution is not flexible, right? Constitution is like this solid pen. Separation of powers have a purpose. It might sound very sweet, it might sound very morally correct, but it is a gray area. What if tomorrow Supreme Court will come and say, all the DFI students should get 1 lakh rupees per month? That will be good for us. Okay, other institutes, they will go on strike, right? You are creating unnecessary headache. Or direct appointment to IAS. All students who are attending the DNA class should get IAS appointment. Very happy. Yes, it's a very good thing. Tomorrow Rahul Gandhi will come and he will say some other institute. Then the entire IAS quality will
Come down.
increase. No, you get the idea?
Sir,
Yes.
but this decision of Supreme Court,
Hmm.
was this because of a few cases filed in which or
Whatever the case, Suomoto cases filed or something else, okay, Supreme Court should ask the government, what is your stand? Yes, or it should at least request the state to, if possible, give the compensation. Then the state will decide what should be done. If everything is done by Supreme Court, what is the need for a government? Right? So keeping that aside, poor people will be relieved at least to a particular extent that they are getting some amount of money. That is what Hindu summarizes. The poor, it's not going to bring people or member of families, but at least they will feel like we exist in somebody's mind.
So, but I find,
because I have seen that even executive tries to reach over the judiciary, like for suppose NJAC or the members of tribunals. It even dilutes in that way also.
Power corrupts, absolute power corrupts, absolutely. Lord Acton. So Lord Acton has mentioned this long ago. See, nature abhors vacuum. You don't find vacuum in this nature, right? If something is vacated, somebody will come and occupy it. In the same way, if I see a policy space which is lying vacant, either judiciary will occupy or executive will occupy. Okay, they have to work in tandem. They are doing the right thing, but in the wrong way. That should be the first thing that should be coming into the mind. Okay, and next thing is, isn't government that ethical to understand the pain of the people? We have to give them the benefit of doubt. We have to give, truly, like keeping constitution aside, if we discuss, will government give 50,000 rupees to all the 4.5 lakh families? Spending 1 rupee is the biggest pain of bureaucracy. They don't want to part with 1 rupee. Yes or no? That too unnecessarily. So if you ask the government, already I'm in the shortage of funds. Okay, bring postmortem report, death report, and 4 other reports which 100% proves that this person died because of COVID. Only then I will give the 50,000. This will be the reaction of the bureaucracy or the state. Okay. Now, what the Supreme Court is saying is, give everyone the 50,000 rupees. The long-term problem is, nobody is solving the long-term problem. This is a jugaad. If you think about it, this is a jugaad. State asks too many documents. Supreme Court is saying no documents. We are temporarily happy with the 50,000 rupees. There is a next pandemic. What about that? We are not properly working on the record maintenance, how a person has actually died. If it's resolved that, then Supreme Court's intervention is not at all needed. So executive have a long-term work to do. Executive is happily bypassing it. So if you ask me, executive is very happy receiving this judgment, right? They are not asking you to spend even 1,000 more crores on repairing the entire record system. You are happily giving only 50,000 rupees per family and getting away with the lethargy. Yes or no? You understand the simple solution, right? Long-term reform is needed, but nobody is talking about long-term reform. Probably government will set national digital health card. Next time we will record it. Okay, do you have a provision? Do we have enough, mortuaries in the country with postmortems? Yes. Do they have the accurate data? Do you have the capacity to take the load? If 10 dead bodies come in 2 hours, okay, do the system have capacity to do postmortem of everyone and say, yes, this person died of COVID? Do we have that capacity? No. So nobody will ask the right questions, right? You understand how everybody is happy with everything to manage. That is why India is called as land of jugaad.
So, but we have seen so many people, they just died, and that at that point of time, if we imagine,
We have to take the prima facie word of the doctor. He died because of COVID. Doctor's reputation is on stake.
they won't be able to take to postmortem and all.
Okay, fine. He died on ventilator. The doctor can certify, right? You don't need a postmortem. Doctor certification, the hospital ID number. In so and so hospital, on this bed, this particular person died of COVID on
Then again, a
particular
question
time.
comes if the doctor is ethical or not.
Okay, at least we should have the data record, right? Yes, everything works on theory. Yes.
So for that
That
matter,
is why
even
cheapest solutions are always easy, right? Yeah. The met on the mat. Okay. So this article is bit complicated for India or UPSC. We will modify it in the simplest terms. How? If we have to modify this article for India, how will we modify that? Have you read this article?
recently, the CJS remarks on police.
Again, if you go back to police, the same solution, right? 2006 judgment, there on pending. Yes, we cannot blame the police alone. So what is this article trying to tell you?
He's saying something called enlightened police.
There is no such thing as enlightened. Okay, so we have smart police in India. What is body cam? Have you seen a body cam? Have you observed a traffic police in Hyderabad? What he does? He takes a photo. That is called as touchless policing, contactless policing. That is called as contactless policing. That means normally he is supposed to stop you and take your details, then fine you, right? That leads to discretion. Right now, I don't have to pay a bribe to the traffic constable because of contactless policing. If I'm doing something wrong, take a picture, I am fine. Yes or no? Sometimes traffic inspectors, if you see, they might be still doing this special rides. So they will have a small camera here, just like this badge. They will have a body cam. That means every action he does is actually recorded. Okay, so he cannot negotiate with you. So every action done by a police officer on the field is recorded in the body camera. If he is caught with some money, okay, tomorrow he might claim, the police officer brought the money and he put it in my hands. Body cam will actually record the moment he opened the door, money was not there. That means that person already had the money. So body cams will reduce the immoral or excessive force used by the state against the citizen. So he's saying technology will be a part of the solution. But in spite of all the technology in the world, the mind of the police officer can still be corrupt or power hungry, and he might do some atrocities in the name of power, right? So ethical consideration or ethical behavioral change plus technology is a long-term solution for police reforms. That is the core crux of his argument. Okay. So it's a journey. It's a continuous journey. It's very easy to criticize police officers, constables, or traffic police officers. What is the salary of a constable? Do you have an idea?
30,000. 30,000.
I think it's 16,000 or 17,000
Depend on
rupees.
state
State to state. Okay, average also if you take the
25.
20,000 rupees. So do you really expect somebody to work 14 hours a day, even on weekends and especially on holidays, for 10 to 12 hours a week and take 20,000 rupees home? Right? That too with all the human temptations in front of your eyes. Yes or no? I hope you understand. So we are fighting with the human nature. And is the state willing to increase the salaries? No, because it's a huge amount of revenue problem. And training. Many police officers are not trained once they get into the service. Yes or no? As a constable, you have to run, you have to jump, that is tested. After you get into the service, nothing, right? Even if you are obese also, nobody is going to stop you. Yes. Recently, those things are changing, but still that is the thing. But sensitivity training or ethical training, ethical classes, ethics classes, these, why will a constable sit in an ethics class? What will he understand? Even if he attends it, it's more like a seminar for 2 hours and he will ignore. Why? The system is very easy. For example, if you go to police station even today that a particular girl is missing, the first response will be she must have eloped with someone. Yes or no? Why? Out of 8 cases they see, 6 are eloping cases. Probably they are tuned hardware to that particular consideration. Yes, if somebody is kidnapped, they will say, okay, he might have run away. Right? He will come back. These are normal for them. And state also does not provide a lot of incentives for them, right? They don't give vans, petrol and bikes to go search. If a police officer has to do all these things, he has to do it on his own personal money, or he has to adjust somewhere else. So there are a lot of problems in the system also. So the brutality is just an attribute, it's an outcome of the inhuman system. So that is why 8 systems are suggested. 8 hours of constabling, right? 8 hours they change, the shift changes. Next 8 hours somebody will work, next 8 hours somebody else will work. In reality, what is happening? Some states police are working for 14 hours a day, right? So that's a very brutal way to exploit the people. All these are colonial hangovers. Clear?
And so recently in Delhi, the PCR has been, there's a proposal to combine the PCR with the main office. So that the reaction time doesn't happen with the lag.
Again, infrastructure. I totally remember that article in Hindu, right? Again, there is also a suggestion for removing law and order from desk duty. Law is totally different from order. Order, you need patrolling and all these things. Law issues like civil cases and all these things, you can just sit and register. Crime investigation has to be separated from law and order, right? So there are so many reforms that are suggested. Here, what he's simply saying is, for you to have a better policing, you need to invest in both the technology and behavioral changes. I'm also clubbing in, you have to reform the entire system to support them. They have to feel they are
just their services
scoping
are
up, justified. Most important thing is we don't have counseling sessions also. We don't know how many police officers died in COVID. Yes or no? It's easy to blame them. Police are like this only, police are brutal. But we hardly ever stop and think what happened to all those constable families. Yes, at least Kejriwal has introduced something called as 1 crore program. If someone dies in the line of duty, even a constable, 1 crore rupee compensation will be given to that particular family. Right? So that at least is a moral booster for the rest of the fellows to go on above and beyond the call of duty. There are many good, honest public servants. The problem is system is not rewarding them in everything. Just think about it. Even not having a working fan is also a demotivator in your office. Yes or no? So like this chairs, bikes, vehicles, there are a lot of problems. So it's easy for them to cross the line. But nothing justifies brutality and crime. Yes or no? If there is a case, then all the police force should be brutal. So brutality and crime are crossing all lines, but the rest of the things are understandable if not justified. Okay. Finally, India got back into stable rating. What are ratings? Why they are important?
Perception management.
Yeah.
This is a term, India's sovereign rating. This is rating of Indian government. Okay, if Indian government does something, it's steady, it's stable. Stable means more investment. Okay, according to SEBI website, I checked it today, there are 7 rating agencies in India. Okay, but the most famous is Moody's, Standard and Poor, Finch. These are famous credit rating agencies. So India is somewhere here. Okay. Few years ago, there is a crisis known as ILFS crisis. ILFS is a company. That company bonds were given AAA rating. Okay, whenever someone gives AAA rating, it's equal to gold. Okay, you can buy it happily. That was a measurement. These companies, these credit rating agencies took some indirect money from the companies, okay, and gave them AAA rating. More people went and invested in the company, and the company went bust. Okay, that is when government of India has woken up and decided very stringent government security least risky. Why? Government is backing it up. If government does not have money and give you. Yes or no? That is the only logic for AAA rating. Yes or no? In one article, I think there are types of nuclear submarines not needed for you. That much technicalities are not needed. But just remember the basic differences. We have a diesel submarine and we have a nuclear powered submarine. So this is the submarine that Australia is going to get. Okay, so nuclear submarines are created to stay underwater for a huge amount of time, except only limited by food and the frustration of the people in the submarine. Okay, everything else is manageable to clear, and they come in much faster, and their speeds are also much higher. So that is the biggest advantage of nuclear submarines. So Australia is moving towards nuclear submarines. Okay, the ACUS article. India is having diesel submarines. In comparison to nuclear submarine power difference, America have, we are number one. This is only nuclear submarines. I'm not talking about overall submarines. I'm just talking about nuclear submarines. So it's like this. When you are traveling in a road, if you see a traffic constable there, okay, the entire road is automatically straightened, right? People will go into the sidelines automatically. In the same way, if Indian Ocean, if you see a submarine, automatically other countries will be very wary to enter that particular area. So if America places 68 submarines throughout the Indian Ocean and the South China Sea, technically it will be a declaration of war. So that is the power of nuclear submarines. And our nearest neighbor have 12 nuclear submarines. There is a huge gap between China and India. Sorry, China and US, India also, right? There is a huge gap. 1 and 12 is also a huge number in nuclear submarines. But in normal parlance, how do we use it? India and US. Both are same. India and US are one. You can understand the gap between the technical capabilities of India and USA, right? That is why it is called as superpower. Yeah. Okay. Clear? Nuclear powered and nuclear capable.
I mean, it can actually.
Nuclear capable. It can launch nuclear weapons.
And it is also
No. Not every submarine is a diesel submarines can also launch nuclear weapons. Nuclear powered submarines are SSNs are nuclear powered. Nuclear powered is long term capacity. Diesel is short term capacity. But both of them can have the capability to launch nuclear weapons. Here, these numbers are nuclear launching capability. Okay, I hope you understand the difference.
Capabilities are launching, not
Powered.
Okay.
Right, and powered also. I mean, obviously, it's the most latest, right? Nuclear powered is most probably nuclear launchable also, the latest version. Yes, clear. And one small theory you have to remember is non-proliferation treaty. All of you know NPT, non-proliferation treaty. So some student asked me, sir, why when America is giving nuclear submarines to Australia, isn't it violation of non-proliferation treaty? So there is a thin gray area in the NPT treaty. So America is stretching that gray area, and it is justifying. So if you see the bolded line, the NPT do not prohibit the non-proliferation treaty does not prohibit transfer of nuclear technology for nuclear ships. Using that loophole, America is giving the nuclear technology to Australia. Okay. Is India a member of non-proliferation treaty? India is not a member of non-proliferation treaty. And second thing, even if this clause does not exist, tell me one country which has the power to stop USA to give nuclear technology to Australia. Sorry. That is the entire point, right? China will not do it because it probably can stop it, but China wants to give weapons to Pakistan as an excuse. So why does China want to close the door? Right? They are all cunning people, right? Everybody is cunning in diplomacy. So if America is giving me a golden opportunity to proliferate, why will I stop that? Probably China will do that sooner than later. Clear? Okay. Yes. And last article of the day, this is yesterday's Indian Express article. We will wrap up very quickly. Mother of democracy. Prime Minister Modi recently called Indian democracy as mother of democracy. So we have to find some justification points. Okay. And it is true to an extent. Yes. So in R.S. Sharma, there is a chapter known as Achievements of Ancient Indians. Have you seen it? R.S. Sharma, Ancient Indian History, NCERT is there. The last chapter is Achievement of Ancient Indians. All the great things done by ancient Indians are mentioned in that particular chapter. One 5 minutes read. It's very interesting also. So, any Dan Brown fans? Da Vinci Code, Fibonacci sequence. Okay. So this is called as Fibonacci sequence. It's a continuous sequence. In Telugu also, or in Sanskrit also, we have multiple repetitions of Fibonacci sequence. I think, if I'm not mistaken, they are called as Katapayadi Sankyalu. Okay, so that is nothing but Fibonacci sequence, which tells that ancient Indians also knew about Pythagoras theorem and Fibonacci sequence. In the same way, Arabic numerals are actually Indian numerals. Okay, or Hindu numerals, whatever you prefer. Okay, because of Silk Road, the Arab traders used to travel from India all the way till Europe. So they introduced the Indian numerals to the Western countries. So in the Western countries, they called it as Arabic numerals. So that is how the name Arabic stuck with the thing. And the beauty of Silk Road is it not only transferred goods, it also transferred a lot of knowledge. If you see, there are Upanishads in Arabic language, in Chinese. So a lot of cultural exchanges used to happen because of Silk Road. So all those things are gone anyhow, right? Now, coming back, what he's trying to tell you is in Mahabharata Shanti Parva also, there is a mention of republics. So which actually justifies that India is also a cradle of democracy, because Greece is considered as cradle of democracy. But before that also we had Ganapadas, Sabhas, Samitis. So that is how it's trying to justify. What is the significance of Mahabharata Shanti Parva? Anyone? No idea, never heard. Okay, it's a discussion between Bhishma Pitamaha and Dhritarashtra, not Dhritarashtra, Dharmaraja. When Bhishma was lying on the bed of arrows, till Mahabharata war, he does not die, right? He's Swachanda Maranam. That means he will die only when he wants to die. So he preaches the Raja Dharma or governance to Dharmaraja. Okay, so they talk about ethics, governance, e-governance also. Okay, I mean e-governance. They talk about governance and ethics. So normally in Western countries, whenever you do something miraculous, they will call you as Machiavelli. Machiavellian, Machiavelli, right? Machiavelli is a minister. In the same way, Chanakya and Shanti Parva also has a lot of lessons for governance. Okay, so we can learn all those things in Shanti Parva, and we have to revive that culture. Yes, so Shanti Parva is useful for ethics paper also and GS paper to democracy also. In the same way, Vedas also represent two types of people. One is elected kings. Have you ever heard about elected king? Elected kings in ancient times, right? Normally kingdom is ascribed, it's hereditary. If you are born as a king, you are Yuvaraja, and so on and so forth. It's a hereditary in nature. But Vedas actually say kings were elected. That itself is a very rare and unique concept. That also shows that Indian democracy roots were very strong. Next one is rule without a monarch. That is done by Sabha. Okay, have you heard about that movie? Okay, Okkadu, One Day Chief Minister.
Yes.
Yes. In that there is a diagram, right? There is an image on the postal box. A cow ringing a bell. Do you know that story? Do you recollect it? In that One Day Chief Minister movie, there is a box where you can drop the complaints. Yes or no? Okay. So one day what happens is a prince is driving a chariot. Okay, and the calf come under the chariot wheel and it dies. Then the cow goes and rings the dharma bell. Okay, whenever you ring that bell, the king is supposed to come and give the justice. And king actually gives the justice. Okay, kill my son because he killed the calf. So this is a country which gave justice even to animals, right? That is the dharma bell. Okay, so if you think about it logically, that is nothing but grievance redressal mechanism. Yes or no? That is nothing but grievance redressal mechanism. So we have very strong traditional ways to revive dharma, but we hardly use all those things in the modern thing. Yeah. If you think about the same thing, farmers' riots in Uttar Pradesh right now, allegedly some minister's son drove over some people. Yes, at least on moral principle, people should resign.
Yes, sir.
At least till the inquiry is completed. Once if a inquiry proves you not guilty, you can come back into the power happily. But where are the moral questions? So we have calling ourselves mother of democracy is one thing. Actually living up to the standards is one more thing. So the dharma bell, I will try to find the king's name. I forgot the name. It's a very beautiful concept. Yes.
So, but in UK, minister would resign.
Yes. Would resign.
He resigns.
He resigns. I didn't get you. He resigned.
Yes, sir. He resigns, sir.
Okay.
He is legally responsible.
Why?
And in India, just people.
In India also morally legally. See, Lal Bahadur Shastri resigned because when he was a railway minister, a train crashed. Okay, he resigned out of moral authority, saying, I couldn't run a railway track, then what am I good for? So we had such a huge moral figures in the country, right? Lal Bahadur Shastri almost did it twice, I guess. Okay. So see, he was a small, fragile man, 5 feet, but his stature is like huge. The problem is there is a Telugu idiom, right? ఎప్పుడన్నా విన్నారా మా తాతలు నేతులు తాగారు మా మూతులు నాకారు. Right? That means my great grandfathers were great, so you should respect me also. It doesn't happen like that, right? Because they were great, that doesn't mean I have to respect you. If their greatness is because of their character, you have to follow the traditions. Okay. No, that is a Telugu idiom, right? I cannot make it up. All these things are true. Okay. Okay. Yeah, where was I? Yeah. And one more thing he nicely brings is Greece did not allow women. Indian discussions always entertain or gave importance to women. Gargi, Kannagi. There are so many intellectuals in Upanishad discussions also. In Sabhas also we have given a huge scope for women. If you think about it, 1950, in single stroke, India gave universal adult franchise. Yes. For American women to get voting rights or adult franchise, they have to fight a huge legal battle. For 50 years, the battle went on. But for India, day one, we gave universal adult franchise. So all these things show that India has a very strong democratic roots, and it deserves to be called as mother of democracy. Right? And he finally concludes by saying, in Ardhashastra, there is a line, in the happiness of the people lies the happiness of the king. So Chanakya actually mentions that in Ardhashastra, if your optional is public administration, in paper 2, you will come to learn all these things. In the happiness of the king lies the, in the happiness of the people lies the happiness of the king. Yada Raja, Tada Praja. That is totally different.
Yes, sir.
Yes. So Yada Raja, Tada Praja is as the king, so are the people. Right. So I just wanted to test. Okay, fine. Yes. But
No state prospers by working with something.
It applies when you have systems which will promote and feed inequality. For example, if I belong to 1%, the top 1%, and that 1% is enough for me to take care of all the things for the state to survive, it's okay to dwarf the 99%, right? I'm not directly feeded by this 99%, right? The inequality is such a high that 1% is more than enough for the system to appear that everything is running. There is a wonderful book called as yes, even if you can read the first chapter of the book through PDF or something, okay, it will give you a lot of insights. Any questions? Is India mother of democracy? According to all these arguments, we should conclude that at least India had the democratic ethos from a long time. So is Indian democracy stronger or weaker?
It is strong. Like today compared to old days.
Stronger or weaker in 2021? Okay. Yes. Have your own reasons, right? Whether it's stronger or weaker. So just think about 5 points for stronger, 5 points for weaker. If you have to argue it's stronger, what are your top 5 points? If you have to argue that it's weaker, what are your top 5 criticisms? Okay, then you will have a balanced answer. Indian democracy is stronger, critically analyze. Or Indian democracy is having issues, critically analyze. In both the cases, you will have some 5 points. Tell me 1 point. Stronger.
The central government, which was one secured less than 50% vote, and there are many parties out there. It doesn't even secure 30% of vote.
Okay.
Even though it got less than 50% of vote share, they form government because of democracy.
Okay.
There is a competition among the parties.
Okay.
So it stands first as not all choosing. There is a saying in the hostel, 20 people prefer upma, and rest of them doesn't like upma, but they prefer 15 for dosa, 12 for idli, 12 for
Yeah,
sambar,
I understand. Yeah.
and finally upma stands at 20. So upma wins the competition.
Okay. Nice. That's his interpretation of democracy in one way. Yes. Anyone else? One reason for strong democracy. Yes.
So in India, there are like number of provisions for the weaker sections also. We have many reserved constituencies for minorities. So we are listening to each and every person.
Okay.
So it's not like ruled by majority or at the center itself.
Okay.
So we have distribution as well as we have provisions for minority sections. Yes.
So all of you get an idea, right? Why India is a stronger democracy. So it is true that we are much better than 90% of the nations in the planet. A democracy is a journey, not a destination. Yes. Right? So if you take the ages of democracies in the world, America is like 225 years old. India is only 75 years old. So India is a teenager, whereas America is a old person in democratic scales. Okay, so we have a lot to learn. So we cannot outrightly criticize that everything India does is wrong or right. India is learning. I hope the next generation of Indians will be aware to be even stronger. Yes. Okay, then see you all tomorrow.